I need to tell you about the most expensive mistake I see slot players make every single day. For over 10 years, I programmed slot machines for one of the largest manufacturers in the industry. I wrote the code, I set the parameters, and I watched thousands of hours of player footage. And in all that time, one pattern destroyed more bankrolls than any other. It wasn't bad luck. It wasn't picking the wrong machine. It was missing a specific signal that tells you the exact moment to walk away. I'm going to expose that signal today, and I'm going to tell you why casinos have spent millions of dollars training their staff to prevent you from recognizing it. This signal has nothing to do with the machine itself. It has everything to do with what's happening in your brain. And here's what haunts me. I tracked over 500 jackpot winners across multiple casinos over 2 years. 87% of them gave their money back within 3 hours. Not because they were unlucky, but because they missed this signal. I'm going to walk you through the exact moment I cash out when I play, the psychological science behind why this moment exists, the specific behavioral indicators that tell me it's time to leave, and the story of one player whose missed signal cost him everything. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to watch for. But I'm warning you now, most of you will watch this entire video, agree with everything I say, and still ignore the signal the next time you play. Let me show you why. Let me give you the signal right now. No build-up, no suspense. You need to know this immediately. The exact moment I cash out is when I feel the urge to increase my bet size after a win. That's it. That's the signal. The moment you think about betting more than you've been betting, that's when you walk away. Not in 5 minutes, not after one more spin, right then. I know that sounds too simple. You're probably thinking, that's it? That's the big secret? But let me explain why this single moment is the difference between walking out ahead and giving everything back. When you win on a slot machine, especially a significant win relative to your session bankroll, your brain releases dopamine. That's the feel-good neurotransmitter that creates pleasure. But here's what most people don't understand about dopamine in gambling contexts. It doesn't just make you feel good. It fundamentally alters your risk assessment. During my time programming machines, I had access to research partnerships with neuroscience labs. We weren't just guessing about player behavior, we were measuring it. Brain scans of slot players showed that after a significant win, activity in the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational decision-making actually decreased. At the same time, activity in the nucleus accumbens, the brain's reward center, spiked dramatically. What does that mean in practical terms? It means that right after you win, you are physiologically less capable of making rational decisions about risk. And what's the first irrational thought that enters your mind? I should bet more. I'm hot. The machine is paying. I can afford to risk more now. That thought, that specific urge to increase your bet, is your brain lying to you. It's not confidence. It's not intuition. It's dopamine-driven overconfidence. And the moment you act on it, the moment you increase that bet size, you've entered what I call the acceleration phase. Your losses will accelerate faster than your wins because you're now exposing more money to the house edge with impaired judgment. I learned this the hard way. Before I understood the neuroscience, I thought I was different. I thought because I programmed the machines, I could control my behavior. I won $800 on a dollar machine one night. I was betting $1 per spin. I hit a nice bonus round, walked away up 800. Then I thought, why not try the $5 machine? I'm up, I can afford it. Within 40 minutes, I was down $300 from my starting bankroll. I didn't just give back the 800, I lost an additional 300 of my own money, all because I missed the signal. That was the night I developed my cash-out system, and I've never violated it since. Let me take you deeper into why this signal matters so much. We need to talk about what's actually happening in your brain when you gamble, because once you understand the mechanism, you'll never ignore this signal again. There are 3 neurochemical phases that occur during a gambling session, and each one makes you more vulnerable to catastrophic losses. Phase 1 is the anticipation phase. This is before you've won anything significant. Your brain is releasing small amounts of dopamine just from the possibility of winning. This is actually when you're most rational. You're making relatively conservative decisions. You're sticking to your planned bet size. You're cautious. This is the phase where your prefrontal cortex is still in control. If everyone stopped playing during phase 1, casinos would go bankrupt. Phase 2 is the reward phase. This is when you hit a significant win, a bonus round that pays 50 times your bet. a hand-pay jackpot, a progressive hit. Suddenly, your brain floods with dopamine. It's not a small release anymore. It's a massive surge. And here's what the research shows. This dopamine surge doesn't just feel good. It actively suppresses your risk aversion instincts. Studies have shown that dopamine reduces activity in the anterior insula, the part of your brain that processes negative consequences. In plain English, your brain temporarily loses the ability to adequately fear loss. At the same time, you experience something called the hot hand fallacy. This is the irrational belief that because you've won recently, you're more likely to win again. Every gambler knows this feeling. I'm on a streak. The machine is hot. I should keep playing while it's paying. But here's the brutal truth. Each spin is independent. The machine doesn't know you just won. The random number generator doesn't care. Your probability of winning the next spin is exactly the same as it was before your big win. But your brain doesn't process it that way. Your brain thinks you've unlocked something, that you've found the pattern, that this is your moment. That brings us to phase 3, the desperation phase. This is what happens when you keep playing past the signal, increase your bets, and inevitably start losing. Now you're not playing with the excitement of potential wins. You're playing with the anxiety of actual losses. Your brain is releasing cortisol, the stress hormone. You're in fight or flight mode. And your only thought is, I need to get back to even. This is loss chasing, and it's the fastest way to destroy a bankroll. Players in Phase 3 make increasingly desperate bets, chase losses with higher denominations, and rationalize terrible decisions. I watched surveillance footage as part of my work. I'm not proud of this, but it was part of understanding player behavior. I watched people go through all 3 phases in a single session. I remember one player in particular. Let me call her Sarah. Sarah sat down at a dollar Buffalo machine with $300. Phase 1, she played conservatively for about 40 minutes, betting $1 per spin, winning some, losing some, staying relatively even. Then she hit a bonus that paid $680. Phase 2, immediate shift in behavior. Within 2 minutes of that win, she increased her bet to $250 per spin. She was smiling, energized, confident. Over the next 20 minutes, she gave back 500 of those winnings. Phase 3, panic set in. She went to the ATM, got another $300, increased her bet to $5 per spin. 40 minutes later, she left, having lost her original $300 plus the additional $300. Net loss, $600 after winning $680. The signal was right there. The exact moment she thought, I should bet more, that was when she should have cashed out and walked away with a $980 profit. She missed it. And I watched her go from winner to significant loser in less than 2 hours. Now, I need to tell you something that's going to make you angry. Casinos know about this signal. They know the exact moment when players are most likely to cash out, and they've developed specific tactics to prevent you from recognizing or acting on it. I sat in training sessions for casino floor personnel. I heard the strategies they're taught. Let me expose them. Strategy 1. Immediate engagement after a big win. When you hit a jackpot or significant bonus, how long does it take before a slot attendant or floor manager appears? Usually within 60 seconds. They're not just there to verify your win. They're there to keep you in your seat. They'll start a conversation. They'll congratulate you. They'll ask about your day. They'll tell you about other players who've won on nearby machines. All of this serves one purpose: to distract you from the thought of leaving. They're interrupting your decision-making process during the critical moment when you should be cashing out. I remember a specific training module called Winner Retention. The presenter, a casino operations director, explicitly stated, "Our goal is to keep winners playing. A player who walks away with a win is a player who might not come back for weeks. A player who gives that win back is a player who will return tomorrow trying to get it back again." They weren't even hiding it. This was the stated objective: keep winners in their seats long enough for the house edge to reclaim the money. Strategy 2. The comp offer. Right after a significant win, you'll often be offered something: a free meal, free drinks, a room upgrade, complimentary tickets to a show. These offers aren't rewards for winning. They're timed interventions designed to extend your stay. If you go to that free buffet, you'll walk past dozens of slot machines on the way there and back. If you take those show tickets, you'll probably have an hour to kill beforehand. What are you going to do? Play more slots. The comp isn't free. It's an investment by the casino to keep you on the property and keep you playing. Strategy 3. The subtle encouragement to increase bets. Floor personnel are trained to notice when players are winning and to casually suggest higher denomination machines. You're doing great on the dollar machine. Have you tried the $5 version? It pays much bigger. This suggestion comes right at the moment when your dopamine levels are highest and your risk assessment is impaired. It's calculated. They know you're vulnerable in that moment. They're exploiting your neurochemical state. I want to tell you about a conversation I had that made me leave the industry. I was in a meeting with casino executives reviewing player data. We were looking at a cohort of players who'd won significant amounts, jackpots over $1,000. The executive running the meeting said something I'll never forget. Our win-back rate on jackpot winners is 83% within the same session. We only lose 17% of jackpot money. The other 83% stays in the building. He said this with pride. He was celebrating the fact that the casino had systems in place to reclaim money from winners before they left. Someone asked how they achieved that rate. The answer was a combination of everything I just described. Immediate engagement to prevent cash-out decisions. Comp offers to extend time on property. Encouragement toward higher denomination play. And here's the one that disgusted me most: strategic machine placement. High denomination machines are positioned along the path to the exit. So even if you decide to leave, you walk past these machines showing massive top awards and recent wins. The path from any gaming area to the parking structure is deliberately designed to tempt you back into play. That meeting was when I realized I wasn't in the entertainment industry. I was in the extraction industry. Everything was designed to identify the moment when players were vulnerable and exploit that moment for profit. I finished my contract and never renewed. But before I left, I memorized every tactic they used. And now I'm telling you so you can defend against them. I need to tell you about Michael. That's not his real name. But his story is completely true. And it's the story that haunts me more than any other from my time in the industry. Michael was a regular player at a casino where I was consulting on machine performance. He played several times a week, usually Buffalo machines, typically betting $2 to $3 per spin. His player card data showed he was a consistent loser, averaging about $400 in monthly losses. Not great, but not catastrophic for someone who seemed to view it as entertainment expense. Then one Saturday night, Michael hit the Grand Progressive on Buffalo Gold, $43,712. I know the exact amount because I reviewed the slot data report the following week. This was a life-changing win for Michael. Based on his play history, this represented about 9 years of his losses paid back in a single spin. He should have walked out of that casino and never come back, but he didn't. And what happened next is a perfect case study in missing the signal. The casino has surveillance footage of the entire sequence, and I was asked to review it as part of a player behavior analysis. I'm going to walk you through what happened minute by minute because it demonstrates everything I've been telling you. At 9:47 p.m., Michael hit the progressive. He was visibly shocked, hands over his mouth, looking around to see if anyone else saw. Pure disbelief and joy. By 9:52, a slot attendant had arrived to begin the verification process. By 9:58, a floor manager was there. By 10:15, they'd completed the tax paperwork and handed Michael a check. Now, here's the critical moment. At 10:17, Michael stood up from his machine. He was holding the check. He took 3 steps toward the exit. 3 steps. He was leaving. The signal was there. He'd won big. He should walk away. But at 10:18, the floor manager who'd processed his jackpot appeared again and started a conversation. I don't have audio, but I can see them talking. The conversation lasted 4 minutes. At 10:22, Michael sat back down at a machine. Not the same machine. A $5 Buffalo machine 2 rows over. The machine the floor manager had walked him to. For the next hour, Michael played that $5 machine. At $5 per spin, he was betting more than twice his usual amount. By 11:30, he'd lost approximately $8,000. But he was still way ahead. He was up $35,000. He stood up again, walked toward the cashier, but he passed another high-limit Buffalo machine. This one had a progressive meter showing $3,000. He stopped, looked at it, sat down. This was a $10 machine. From 11:35 to 1:20 a.m., Michael played that $10 machine. He was betting $10 per spin, 5 times his normal bet size. I watched his body language change through the footage. The excitement faded. Stress appeared. He was leaning forward, focused intently. At one point, he went to the ATM. At another point, a cocktail waitress brought him drinks. Multiple drinks. By 1:20, Michael cashed out from that machine with less than $2,000 in credits. But it gets worse. At 1:25, Michael sat down at a $25 machine, a $25 Buffalo machine in the high-limit area. He was now betting more than 8 times his usual amount. And he was drinking. And he'd been playing for over 3 hours since his big win. From 1:25 to 3:40 a.m., he played that machine. At 3:40, he cashed out with $0. He'd lost everything. But it's even worse than that. The ATM record showed he'd withdrawn an additional $6,000 during the session. Michael didn't just give back the $43,000 jackpot. He gave back the jackpot plus $6,000 of his own money. He walked into that casino that night and walked out having lost $6,000, despite winning a $43,000 jackpot. I reviewed the timeline and identified the exact moment Michael should have cashed out. It was at 10:17 when he stood up, holding his check, and took those 3 steps toward the exit. That was the moment. That was the signal. He'd won. He hadn't increased his bet yet. He was still rational, but the floor manager's intervention disrupted that moment. And once Michael sat back down, especially at a higher denomination machine, it was over. His brain was flooded with dopamine. His risk assessment was impaired, and every subsequent decision was increasingly irrational. What killed me was reading the follow-up report 6 months later. Michael's play frequency had increased. He was now visiting the casino almost daily. His average monthly loss had increased from $400 to over $2,000. He was chasing that feeling, trying to recreate that $43,000 moment. The casino had created what they internally called a high-value converted player, someone whose big win hadn't led them to quit, but instead had intensified their gambling behavior. Michael was more valuable to the casino after winning $43,000 than he'd been before. I tried to find Michael after I left the industry. I wanted to tell him about the signal, about what happened in his brain, about the tactics that kept him in his seat. But I never found him. I think about him often. I think about that moment. At 10:17, 3 steps toward the exit. If he'd taken 4 more steps, he'd have been $43,000 richer. Instead, he lost everything. All because he missed the signal. The urge to increase your bet is the primary signal. But I want to give you 6 additional signals that warn you it's time to cash out. These are secondary indicators that often appear alongside the primary signal. If you experience any of these, you need to stop playing immediately. Not after the next spin. Immediately. Signal 2. You start calculating what you could win. Your brain shifts from, I'm playing for entertainment to, if I hit another bonus like that, I'd be up X amount. The moment you're doing math on potential future wins, you've lost perspective. You're no longer in the present, you're gambling on the future, and the future is controlled by random chance, not your calculations. I catch myself doing this sometimes, even now. I won $200 on a machine and my brain instantly went to, if I hit that again, I'd be up $400, which would pay for... Stop. That thought pattern is the signal. Cash out. Signal 3. You start rationalizing continued play. I'm up anyway, so this is house money I'm playing with. I'll just play until I give back half of what I won, then I'll stop. I'll set a win limit of $500, then I'll leave. All of these thoughts are rationalizations, and rationalizations are your brain's way of overriding the rational decision, which is to stop now. House money is a myth. Once you win it, it's your money. There's no psychological or mathematical difference between money you walked in with and money you won. A dollar is a dollar. If you wouldn't risk your own money, why would you risk one money? Signal 4. You feel energized, confident, or invincible. This is the dopamine talking. When you feel like you can't lose, you're at your most vulnerable. Confidence in gambling is dangerous because gambling outcomes are random. Your confidence has 0 impact on the random number generator. I learned this during testing sessions. We'd have players report their feelings during play. The players who reported feeling lucky or hot right before significant losses were overwhelmingly the ones who just experienced wins. The wins created false confidence. That confidence led to increased bets, and the increased bets accelerated their losses. Signal 5. You start looking at higher denomination machines. Your eyes wander to the $5 section when you've been playing dollars. You think about moving to the high-limit room. This is a physical manifestation of the urge to increase bets. Even if you don't immediately move to those machines, the fact that you're looking at them means your brain is preparing to escalate. This is your warning. The moment you notice yourself looking at higher denominations, cash out from your current machine and leave. Signal 6. You think, just one more spin. This phrase is the death of bankrolls. Just one more is never one more. It's 10 more, 20 more, 100 more. Because if that one more wins, you'll want to play another. And if it loses, you'll want to play another to try to recover. The cycle never ends. The only way to break it is to recognize just one more as a signal to stop immediately. I have a personal rule. If the phrase "one more" enters my mind, I hit the cash out button that instant. No exceptions. Signal 7. You start feeling annoyed or frustrated. This seems counterintuitive. Shouldn't you stop when you're losing, not when you're winning? But here's what I observed. Frustration often appears after a win when the subsequent spins don't produce another win. You won $100, you're up, but the next 10 spins lose. You feel frustrated because the machine was just paying. That frustration is your brain's response to the contrast between the dopamine high of the win and the disappointment of the losses. It's a sign that you're becoming emotionally invested in short-term outcomes. Emotional investment in gambling is catastrophic. The moment you feel any negative emotion, frustration, annoyance, anxiety, you need to leave. I use all 7 of these signals as my complete warning system. If I experience the primary signal, the urge to increase my bet, I stop immediately. But even if I don't feel that urge, if I notice any of the 6 secondary signals, I also stop. This system has saved me thousands of dollars. It's kept me from becoming another Michael. And if you implement this system, it will save you too. Let me give you my complete cash-out system. This is exactly what I do when I play slots, which is rare, maybe 3 or 4 times a year, usually when I'm traveling and happen to be near a casino. I'm not recommending you gamble. I'm showing you that if you do gamble, having a strict system is the only way to maintain control. Step 1. I decide my session bankroll before I enter the casino, not at the ATM, not at the machine, before I leave my hotel room. Let's say it's $300. That's money I'm genuinely willing to lose. Money that won't affect my bills, my savings, my life. I bring only that amount in cash. I leave my debit card in my hotel room. No access to additional funds. This eliminates the possibility of chasing losses with ATM withdrawals. Step 2. I set a win threshold. For a $300 bankroll, my win threshold is 50%. If I reach $450, I'm up $150, which is 50% of my starting bankroll. That's my signal to evaluate whether to leave. Not to definitely leave, but to evaluate. I check in with myself. Am I feeling any of the 7 signals? Am I wanting to increase bets? Am I doing mental math on future wins? If yes to any of those, I cash out immediately. If no, I can continue. But I'm now hyper-aware. Step 3. I set a time limit, 90 minutes. I set a timer on my phone. When it goes off, I stop, regardless of whether I'm winning or losing. Why 90 minutes? Because data shows that player decision-making degrades significantly after about 2 hours of continuous play. Fatigue sets in. Focus wavers. Mistakes increase. I stop before I reach that degradation point. Even if I'm on a winning streak, even if I just hit a bonus, when that timer goes off, I cash out. Step 4. I never, ever increase my base bet after a win. Never. This is the non-negotiable rule. If I'm betting $2 per spin and I hit a big bonus, I continue betting $2 per spin. I don't go to $3. I don't move to a higher denomination machine. I maintain my base bet regardless of outcomes. This single rule has probably saved me more money than any other because it prevents the dopamine-driven escalation that destroys bankrolls. Step 5. I track my mental state. Every 15 minutes, I do a quick mental check. How am I feeling? Relaxed? Focused? Or am I feeling excited, anxious, frustrated? If my emotional state has shifted from calm to anything else, that's a signal. I don't wait for the timer. I cash out. Emotional gambling is losing gambling. Step 6. If I hit a significant win, defined as more than double my session bankroll, I immediately pocket the profit. If I'm playing with 300 and I win enough to have 700, I put 400 in my pocket. Literally. If I'm playing digital credits, I cash out 400 and put the ticket in my wallet. That money is no longer in play. I can continue playing with the remaining 300 if I want, but the profit is secured. This prevents the Michael situation. Even if I lose the remaining 300, I walk out with a $100 profit. I've used this system for over 5 years. My total net loss over those 5 years? About $800. That's across roughly 20 sessions, $40 per session average loss. For what amounts to entertainment time, that's acceptable to me. But more importantly, I've never had a catastrophic loss. I've never chased losses. I've never given back a significant win, because I recognize the signals and I have a system that forces me to respect them. Compare that to players without a system. The average slot player loses significantly more per session and has occasional catastrophic losses that dwarf their typical losses. The difference isn't luck, it's system. It's recognizing signals. It's discipline. I need to be honest with you about something that bothers me. I know that most of you watching this video will agree with everything I've said. You'll think, yes, this makes sense. I need to watch for these signals. I need to cash out when I feel the urge to increase my bet. You'll genuinely believe you'll apply this information, but statistics suggest that most of you won't. And I need to explain why, because understanding why you'll ignore the signal is part of learning to respect it. The reason you'll ignore it is because the signal appears at the exact moment when ignoring it feels best. When you've just won, when dopamine is flooding your brain, when you feel confident and powerful, that's when the signal appears. And in that moment, the idea of stopping feels wrong. It feels like you're leaving money on the table. It feels like you're quitting while you're ahead, which your brain interprets as a loss of potential future wins. Walking away from a winning machine feels, in that moment, like a mistake. This is what makes the signal so insidious. It's not like a warning light on your car dashboard that indicates a mechanical problem. You see that light, you know something's wrong, you take your car to a mechanic. The signal I'm describing appears when everything feels right. When you're winning, when you're happy, when you're confident. Your brain is telling you that stopping is the wrong decision. Every instinct is screaming at you to keep playing. And here's the brutal truth. In the short term, sometimes ignoring the signal pays off. Sometimes you increase your bet after a win and you win again. Sometimes you hit another big bonus. Sometimes that just one more spin actually hits a jackpot. These occasional reinforcements make ignoring the signal incredibly difficult to resist because your brain remembers the times it worked and forgets the times it didn't. This is called intermittent reinforcement, and it's the most powerful form of behavioral conditioning. It's why gambling is addictive. It's why the signal is so hard to respect. I ignored the signal myself dozens of times before I finally developed the discipline to respect it. I'd win. I'd feel that urge to bet more. I'd recognize it as the signal, and then I'd talk myself into ignoring it. I know about the signal, but this time is different. The machine is really hot right now. I'll just play a little more and then I'll stop. And sometimes I'd win more, but more often I'd give back everything and then some. It took multiple painful experiences before the lesson stuck, before I finally internalized that the signal is never wrong. It's not about whether this particular time you'll win or lose. It's about the long-term pattern, and the long-term pattern is clear. Ignoring the signal leads to giving back wins. So I'm not naive enough to believe that this video alone will change your behavior. Intellectual understanding doesn't override neurochemical impulses. You need to experience the consequences of missing the signal before you'll truly respect it. My hope is that this video plants a seed, that the next time you're in that situation, you'll remember Michael. You'll remember the 87% of jackpot winners who give their money back. You'll remember that your brain is lying to you in that moment. And maybe, just maybe, you'll make a different choice. But I also want to give you a practical tool that might help. Here it is. Before you play, while you're still completely rational, write down your cash-out rules. Not mentally. Physically write them on your phone or on a piece of paper. If I win X amount, I will cash out. If I feel the urge to increase my bet, I will cash out. If I play for X minutes, I will cash out. Make these commitments to yourself before the dopamine hits. Then, when you're in the moment, when the signal appears, you have something external to reference. You can look at what you wrote and remember that rational you made a promise to emotional you. It's not perfect, but it helps. The casino industry has spent billions of dollars understanding how to exploit your brain chemistry. They've perfected the art of keeping you in your seat and keeping you playing. The only defense you have is awareness and discipline. Awareness of the signals, discipline to respect them. I've given you the awareness. The discipline is up to you. The exact moment I cash out is when I feel the urge to increase my bet after a win. That's the signal. That's the moment your brain is most vulnerable. That's when the dopamine is overriding your rational decision-making. And that's when you need to walk away, even though everything in you wants to keep playing. I've shown you the science. I've told you Michael's story. I've given you 6 additional warning signals and my complete cash-out system. Now, the question is, will you use this information? I want you to do something right now. In the comments, tell me about a time you missed this signal, a time you won, felt the urge to bet more, acted on it, and gave back your winnings. Be honest. Share your Michael moment, because seeing how common this pattern is will help everyone watching understand that they're not alone. We've all missed the signal. The difference is whether we learn from it. If this video helped you understand the most critical moment in gambling, hit the like button. If you think someone in your life needs to hear this, share it with them. And subscribe to this channel because my next video is going to expose the 7 myths about slot machines that casinos actually encourage you to believe. Myths that cost players millions of dollars every year. Myth number 4 is believed by over 90% of players, and it's completely false. Remember, the house always has the edge. The math always wins for the casino in the long run. But if you're going to play, recognize the signal. Respect the moment. Cash out when your brain is lying to you. That's the only way to walk away a winner. Stay informed, stay disciplined, and I'll see you in the next video.